I'm so pissed off. I want to put my face on everyone for all I care. I would pulverize everybody, whoever I choose. From that damn marmot, from that stupid supreme commander who thinks he's the mayor. For his lovely big dumpling, his wife. I cannot control my anger anymore. I want fight. I want pulverize everyone. Some stupid probation. No probation's gonna prevent me from doing what I'm gonna do. What are you looking at? You're wanting to tell who's this guest for this episode? This very special guest? Well, guess what? His name is Mikers Litton, a.k.a. Veronica Shannon, a.k.a. Veronica Mike Shannon, a.k.a. VML, a.k.a. this. Get away from me now. That would be unlikely to happen. Grr. Come back here. That slot's mine. That's my place. And hold it a second. Hello there. This is the Protoball Rolando Alejandro Zamora, and what you see in me there is playing this 4th Street Racing PC version, and it's way back in 2006, but still, I'm in for the graphics. Now, cast aside for that, and let's get it on with our tonight's guests. Guess, right. Sorry, I swallow my words at times. Veronica Mikers Litton, a.k.a. Mike Shannon, a.k.a. Mikers Litton, for all I care, and he's from the Manila Wrestling Federation. Eventually, we had a good time chatting there, some fun shit, and some very, very important serious stuffs in there. So this is arguably my longest episode to record to this day. Enough of that, let's get it on with our guest, Veronica Mikers Litton. Sit tight, kids. You're gonna learn something from this episode if possible. So cameraman, zoom. Alright, good evening there, Veronica Mikers whatsoever, for all I care. How are you today there?
I'm alright. I'm with my daughter, Ghost. Say hi, Ghost.
Ghost. After all, as white as Ghost. So, how you been doing lately for the last couple of months? I'm curious.
How do I answer that? I think, along with everyone, I'm just trying to cope. I'm just trying to cope as best as I can. Yeah, I'm just trying to cope. I wish I had a better answer. How are you?
Here, trying to, live up to my own reputation, living to the life of the fullest. After all, my wife has cooked something that makes me go bananas, her potatoes and stuff like that. Small ones that we recently bought from Pure Gold Show Boulevard, Mandala Park, which was,
nice.
which was historically used to be the old Little Knitting Mills that I could still recall for nearly 3 decades. At the time when I was riding school bus on my old school at the time. But out of sheer curiosity, no connections to your clan by all means?
That's my family.
Yes, may connections pala.
Yeah, that's my family. That's why we did the 2019 Kasaysayan there.
Yes.
So,
I still remember that one to this day. Especially the Frankie 13 Rex Lawin match, on which, up to this day...
Oh, that was the, no, that was the one with Robin Sane versus Rex Lawin.
Yes. Wait, was it in Mandala Park?
We set up the ring in Mandala Park, yeah. Actually, when it comes to Mandala Park, let's see, we had MWF Kasaysayan there. What else? The first ever WrestleMania viewing party that we did when we were all part
yes.
of.
Oh yes, this is the PWR thing way back
Yeah,
then. Anyway,
that was also there.
let's begin with your wrestling fandom. You probably on my part, it's been like 3 decades since I kind of tasted, but in a very formal cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rock and
Mhm.
Wrestling, for example. That was from the old
Oh,
GMA.
nice.
Yeah, GMA Radio Television Arts way back then. I still haven't forgot that one. It would take years later. I would watch it on ABC5 in the mid 90s, and then
That's where I caught it.
eventually, way back in early 90s, I was a Hulk Hogan fan when I see him battling some of the greats, including Macho Man Randy Savage on WrestleMania 5. And if possible, we had to be WrestleMania 6 against the Ultimate Warrior. But one thing that stood to this day that I still going to do my best to recall it, way back a decade ago, is Hulk Hogan Undertaker Survivor Series WWE title match. I still haven't.
91.
Yes, the 1991 Survivor Series, the only Survivor Series that doesn't have the traditional Survivor Series elimination tag match.
At
That's
the
one.
end. Yeah.
But it would take years later that I get the idea how the dead man, who is recently retired, defeat Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair snuck the chair in it while
Yeah.
Paul Bearer distracted the referee.
The ref. Yeah.
Yes, I still haven't forgot that one. And then
I used to have that on VH. I used to have that Survivor Series on Betamax. We had it on Betamax.
Betamax. Now you're
And-
talking.
And I remember it was like the tape that I didn't like watching a lot because it involved the breakup of the Rockers. Not the breakup per se, but you start to see like the rumblings of like the Rockers dissolving already.
The tensions.
And that,
Yes.
and you really see it come into play. That was, I don't know, growing up, that was always hard for me to watch. I should watch-
yes.
That is a Survivor Series worth watching. Because those early Survivor Series were friggin' awesome.
All right, let's get it on your fandom part. Where did
Go.
it all begins?
For me, it all began probably around the same time you did, maybe a couple of years afterwards. Yeah. I remember. So yeah, I talk about this a lot. So what happened was, I was a really sickly kid. I must have been around 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
My mom saw wrestling on TV.
Okay.
And it was like really late at night. Nothing was making me feel better. So she's like, okay, they look like superheroes. Maybe this will make little Mikers feel better. Little did she know that it would turn into a lifelong obsession for me. So that was around the time when I think cable was still pretty new and very few households had it. So
yes, this is the time.
it was on Star, back when Star still showed wrestling.
Yan, naalala ko pa yun. Yung na-watch ko ata mga 1999, yes, during the Minister of Darkness era and then Corporate Ministry and so forth. I still capture them.
It's a shame because Star Sports stopped showing WWF like right before WrestleMania 17. It's like among all the WrestleMania 17s to not show, it was friggin' 17. But the first match I watched was Jake the Snake Roberts versus Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh,
It was Saturday night's main event.
yes, I remember
then-
that.
This is around, I think, 92, 93. So
That was 92. Before Taker saved Miss Elizabeth from at the hands of his soon-to-be former tag team partner. Remember the segment where Jake the Snake challenged the dead man with this question, "Whose side are you on?" And that's where the dead man answered, "Not yours." And that's where this commotion will lead them to their showdown at WrestleMania 8.
WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
I love that match. I freaking love that match. WrestleMania 8 is one of my all-time favorite WrestleManias. I think a lot of it probably came because that's like around the time I first started watching wrestling. So aside from the matches being really good, it just takes me back to that time. So yeah, I'd watch WWF either on Star or in IBC 13.
Old school, man. That was Islands
Yeah.
TV 13 at the time. Before they
Hmm.
returned back to the original IBC 13, on which I had too much memories of that show on that channel at the time when I was a kid.
No.
Yeah, the first that I watched, it was under the E13 or Life Begins at 13. That I still haven't forgot this jingle to this day. That was over 3 decades ago. I watched a bunch of cool stuffs in there that somewhat made reruns last year from Todas. That's television's outrageously delightful all-star show. To my
Hmm.
surprise, I had no idea Joey De Leon was involved in there. What I do know is Val Soto was there, to be honest. And yes, Spanky Rigor. Yeah, who is recently in US, and we kind of learn he's been doing this whole baggage checking thing for the past three
Oh
decades.
yeah, the one, the guy from VST.
Yes, visiting company. Here's an interesting about this band. One of the members and happened to be probably his brother, Spanky Rigor. No, no, not him. Malia Rigor. He
Hmm.
was our former neighborhood way back many, many, many years ago. I was good friends with two of his sons, especially the eldest.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I haven't forgot their bungalow style house next of our apartment, but it's been abandoned for over 2 decades. And what
Oh my
remained?
gosh.
Yes, they kind of sold their place already. They transferred to another one. I don't know where the location is.
Are you
And
based in Mandaluyong?
I'm from Barangay Little Baguio, San Juan.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, Barangay Little Baguio. It's where I was born, and it's where I'm gonna lay resident there as much as possible. I'm
I
sticking to
grew
my.
up in San Juan. I spent most of my formative years around San Juan.
What
Uh,
barangay?
I don't know which barangay, but we lived around San Juan and Mandaluyong. So
Oh, wow, interesting.
yeah,
Wow, that
so
was the first time you revealed something interesting.
yeah, so my oh gosh, this is gonna sound like really
The good old times.
spoiled of me. Um, but yeah, like we grew up around the Wak Wak area when I was a
Hmm,
kid,
Makbak, yes,
and
that's the one.
where else? A bunch of like places around Mandaluyong and San Juan. So I'm very familiar with the areas you're talking about because those are some of the like the first schools I went to was in that area. Sorry, I just have to clean out my aircon because for some reason it stopped
Oh, that's
getting
okay.
cold.
That's okay, that's okay.
Yeah,
Cold.
sorry about that.
Woo! Yeah, eventually you're currently residing on the area of Mandaluyong, right?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm in Makati right now.
Ah, Makati, I see. Mm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. So who's with you there?
It's just my cats. I like show you. I turn the camera around,
Mm-hmm.
but my apartment is a bit of a hole right
Ah,
now.
you
So
live in a apartment. Nice.
yeah, just
Mm.
like a little studio unit. Like it's
Mm.
just enough for me and three cats.
How long have you
Well,
been
I don't.
there?
So I've been living here for quite a few years now, actually. So
That
I
explains about your video skits with Fabio Makisig way back then. Is that true?
which one?
You had several videos with Fabio Makisig, the storyline thing. Was it there
Yeah.
or oh, that
Oh no, it
it
wasn't
wasn't
done
there?
here. The skits that we did, the like the ones leading up to Noche Buena, and the other one that was leading up to Halalan Special.
Yeah,
We
Halal
shot
Special.
those. We shot those at our HQ because MWF has an HQ in Quezon City where
Nice.
we have the ring. We do our training there. When we
Mm.
do when we do videos there. So we have like a little headquarters in
Good for you guys. You had
yeah. So we
a
shot
headquarters of your own. Nice.
yeah
You work your ass
we
hard
shot
for
it.
it. Mm.
Thank you. So we shot it there. Like I don't think I've shot anything here in my apartment. My apartment's pretty small. It's just basically like a room. Like
Mm.
that's basically it for the most part.
That's okay. At least it's quite tidy to say the least.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
okay, a little messy, but you get a hang of it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we shot those at our HQ, and I haven't been into our HQ in a while, and I freaking miss that place, dude.
Possession, may umepal na mascot dito. That's a Vancouver Island marmot. After doing some dead serious research in the internet, and even my kangaroo actually ever found where it actually came from, Australia.
Oh, okay.
That brutal kangaroo. He's still in probation, to be honest. After
Wait, why is he not why is he not in probation? What happened?
you will see the last episode where me and my marmot were kinda an examples of his unchecked brutality. You know, the knuckles.
Wow. Oh dear.
They
Oh
turned
dear.
us into knuckle sandwich. Me, a few times. The first time I bought him, when I'm about to eat the potato chips, that's where he's jump in and give me a KO. You
Oh
see,
my gosh. How are you
funny,
holding up
but
now?
that was last year. That was last year. Right now, my kangaroo has a penchant for, of all people, my lovely big dumpling. You know, my wife.
Oh.
That stupid idiot definitely get his in the end. But my wife took her aggression on me too for, accusing me for allowing the kangaroo to do anything he want to her. Well, I had nothing to do with that. Seriously, why would I want to get a rolling pin in my face for?
Right?
Oops.
Uh-oh.
Hold the rolling pin. It reminded me about henpecked husbands way back. That was the dawn of the 19th century and some stuff like that. The very common would be this wife so freaking big, and her husband is a little bit of a toothpick, if you ask me. Reminded me of the way I watched that cartoon from Herman the Mouse, and yes, this henpecking rooster and his wife, a.k.a. Chicken Pie. That was a couple
I
of
don't
animations in there. Look for it. It's freaking
when did
hilarious.
when did this air? I don't remember this at all.
Uh, CTV 31. I first watched their way back in mid 90s. Remember, CTV 31, means Cinema Television 31, way back in mid 90s. That's a UHF channel where they shown a lot of international movies in there, big time.
Whoa, I don't remember this.
That was mid 90s. But
Wow, I
okay,
don't remember that.
UHF channels, yes. We have RJTV 29, that's for one. And then there's SBN 21, where I
I
watch
remember SBN 21. I
that was
remember that one.
that was way back. I watched that one like early in '93, if I'm not mistaken. And I watched a handful of shows from Wonder Woman. That's one, and some Australian shows there as well. And
Huh.
even they even dare to do a re-airing of Takeshi's Castle. You know, Smokey
I
Manaloto,
remember that.
Angelina version. That was Channel
I
13
remember
actually.
that. I
Here,
remember that.
here's the hint. One of the generals in there was actually an actor portraying Commander Sanjuro Sugata from Hikari Sentai Maskman, which was originally
Okay.
aired on ABS-CBN na way back in 1989, if I were not mistaken, or 1990. That was
Huh.
that was so old school, especially Shider, of course.
I
Uh,
remember Shider. I remember Bioman.
yes, Chodenshi Bioman. That is the first
Yeah.
one I watched as a kid, way even before you were born. Yeah,
That,
seriously. I was 5 years old at the time in 1988. At the
okay.
time, my development of my mind was in such a very slow pace. I couldn't blame
Mhm.
myself for being a slow learner at the time, you know? That's kid
Mhm.
stuff. There are fast learners and slow learners. We cannot discriminate slow learners because it's how he kind of created for some
Mhm.
good reason or whatsoever. Now, cast aside with your wrestling fandom, and then we go to your first years in associating with the Philippine wrestling scene. Now, how on air? We need to know how do you manage to join the scene at the time?
At the
2013,
Oh,
right?
okay. No, way before that, dude. So actually, this is gonna be a long story, so I'm gonna have a cigarette for this.
Let's not make some of the shortcut stuff, the important parts, if possible.
Yeah.
Don't you
So,
agree?
yeah, for sure. So to answer that question, I got involved in around 2011, 2012,
12.
somewhere there,
Somewhere
because
there.
I was active on a lot of the local wrestling Facebook groups,
Mhm.
and you know, one of the guys who was managing it at the time was Canto Terror.
Ah,
So
yes, good
Canto,
old Canto Terror. He's a little
and
bit older than me, so he knows shit, more shit than I possibly do.
he
Especially
knows more stuff
some.
than I do.
Good for him. Shout out to Canto Terror. He's one smart ass to deal with. Maybe I'm gonna have him on my show one day. Don't
You
you
should,
agree?
you should.
This could be a very interesting. He used to be associated with PWR, and I don't know the story behind his jump ship to MWF. Well, he kind of stopped wrestling like 2016 or 2017, and then he made his move to MWF just last year, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah.
that was shocking, before MWF Republica, if I'm not mistaken.
hmm
Yeah, right.
Well, with us, we've always had a soft spot in our hearts for content there, and a lot of it goes back to, if there's any person I think at that time, 2011, 2012, who really united a lot of fans and got a lot of people in touch with each other, he was one of those people. Like, people tend to overlook the fact that Cantadera did a lot of networking at the time. So Cantadera sent me a message and he was like, hey, there's this Facebook group about people who want to start up a promotion. You want to join it? And I was like, yes. So that was around 2011, 2012. So the people who ultimately are responsible for everything is Frankie 13 and Cantadera, because they were the two who made that Facebook group.
Ah, Frankie 13, one of them. Why am I not surprised? Heard a lot of him, especially when he he's joining a certain gig with the guys from PW years ago. I think I was there in most Matalino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then a few years back, let's say in 2018, we slowly become good friends since this guy, well, no, he does know anything a bit. Eventually, he looked up to me a little bit like a big bro with some cool stuffs and everything. But that guy has brains and I like it, but that doesn't mean
He
I'm
does.
planning to take him as my disciple. I have no intention to do that. Or even an apprentice, since he is way too no, what do you call that? Knowledgeable, I think. Now, let's get
Frankie's a
on
smart
with
kid.
13 on
Yeah,
2013. Yes.
yeah.
You
So
were one of
yeah.
the originals in the Philippine wrestling scene, where at the time you were still forming. Let's say PWR. Now, here's the thing. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of saw some pictures years ago. Revolutional,
Mm-hmm.
that's for one, and then God, that's him. It would take years for me to realize that I first met you in 2017 at the first MWF Live, if I'm not mistaken. That was the good
Yes,
old Makati Cinema Square, where you do
I
share
missed that place.
some good times and bad times in there like that.
I think everyone did.
Yeah, we already know your backstory on 2014 at the time when the company was still in such infancy. Pang nagsisimula pa lamang. Yes, I know the guys were trained at the time. Some of the OGs in there included JDL, that's one
Mm,
for one, Main Max, and then who else? Ken Warren.
and Warren.
That's him. And then even Panzer was part of it. And the man behind the Apocalypse too. who is still
Mhm.
affiliated with the company to this day. Those guys are the OGs of PWR. And there
Yep.
are some OGs that are no longer part of it. That's Canto Terra one for them. And yes, yes, him. The man behind classical Brian Leo character, or should I say I had to mention him. But
Mhm.
here's the thing, man. You were starting at the time, right? Well, you were still young, and apparently the word immature still in the face at the time.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
the
Oh
new
yeah. I think
management.
everyone was immature. I mean, I think people have to acknowledge the fact that the Philippine wrestling scene was formed by a bunch of marks.
All
It
right.
really, it really was. Like,
Mm.
I mean, we were all marks who had. It's like it's one of those things where, at least in my experience, because growing up, I read up a lot on the behind the scenes stuff and the backstage stuff and all that other stuff. So I had an idea of what I had to deal with, but you really don't know until you're there dealing it with yourself. And at that early stage of PWR, the the thing there, and it's also very similar to the early stages of MWF before
Mm.
we did anything in MCS. It was okay. We have the beginnings of a product that, from what we know, no one else is doing. But I do know there was an attempt in Cebu in the mid 2000s to start a promotion there. I don't know what happened, but I know there was an attempt in Cebu, and there were
Oh, I
also
see.
these other fringe stuff happening in the mid 2000s. Like, there was these group of guys who knew how to take bumps, and they would like wrestle in like birthday parties and stuff like that. So there were small things mattering, but that was 2013, 2014. That was really the first time people were like, okay, how serious are you about doing this, and what
Mm.
can we do to get this off the ground? So it it all started with training, and when there was that feeling that maybe there was something there to show people, that's when we did the Revolution Now thing.
Mm.
Revolution Now was actually even supposed to be an event. Revolution Now was just supposed to be a video teaser
I
to show
see.
their it, yeah, it was the original concept wasn't even to do a show. It was okay. Let's just film a bunch of moves. Let's just let's just film stuff in
And
Fit
yes.
Plus,
Mm.
and basically let's show this to potential sponsors who'd be
Mm.
willing to give money to the company so it could grow.
Mm.
Thankfully, for better and or worse, depending on how you looked at it, um,
There's
no
the
one there wasn't a need for a sponsor. People were able to evolve from doing things in Fit Plus and lead into that first ever show in Makati Cinema Square.
Fit Plus. I had a memory in there. I was there once. You know already my backstory about the PW bootcamp, right? You
Oh,
don't
you
know?
were in boot camp?
Ah, here.
No.
That was way back in 2016. I was
Mhm.
part of the batch six that has Trian De La Torre, Evan Carlo, Bolt, and the Kakaibros, Makata, among others. Even Gatillo himself. Yes. But believe it or not, that was I never expected that would be the last time I saw CBL on that part of PWR at the time. I would like to attend to bootcamp to be honest, but unfortunately my ma kinda stopped me from it because for some after my first experience of body pains for 1 whole week, which Evan Carlo tells the truth because I experienced it. It's like I had a hard time to. Uh, I tried to fight it. To be honest with you, I mean I never whine and complain about it. I'm trying to fight it, but even if I take a Laxans and everything like that, yep, I knew this was gonna be brutal.
Mhm.
But yeah, at the time my pre-brutal stages like that. Speaking of which, here's the thing. I know you guys started at the time, but haven't you noticed that you gotta had to train your ass? I mean, the guys had to train their ass off for at least 1 year before doing this and that.
Yeah,
You noticed that,
yeah,
right? But what's the
that's the
hurry?
case. That's the case. That's the case now, which is good because I do genuinely believe people need that time and that space to hone their craft before they go work in front of an audience or even think about a gimmick. I
Mm-hmm.
at the time,
Okay.
in 2014, you know, there. How do I put this into words? Um, People came up with gimmicks right away,
Ouch.
and for that first batch of wrestlers, it was like the one thing that motivated them the most, and it was one of the things that drove them. And for us, the ones who were in the upper management at the time,
Yes,
it
yes.
was something that we were, excuse me, that we were okay with because okay, these are gonna be future stars. At least they have the gimmicks down. At least they're training because there was always that rush on how the hell do you get it off the ground. And,
Oh.
and the only way to get it off the ground and legitimize it is to really do shows. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you know, even I'll even admit, even to a degree, even with MWF, you know, we weren't completely ready when we did the first show. I don't PWR wasn't ready, MWF wasn't ready. None of those promotions were ready.
I
But
see.
there was that rush within like those first initial batches to get it off the ground. Because if you don't have it off the ground, you're not making any buzz with it, nothing's gonna happen. So there really was that rush to make it happen. Because again, you know, if we were all in the States or in Canada or in England, Australia, Japan, you know, people could go to wrestling school. People could get experience, could go to wrestling school before they could train there and then they could start running shows. There's already an infrastructure in place for wrestling. We don't
Mm.
have that infrastructure here. And for the most part, people with the money and the resources to push things like this won't really push something that's as dangerous as pro wrestling is from a business perspective. Because
Mm.
if you are going to be someone who would potentially be throwing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pesos into wrestling, it entails a very big risk, and you don't know if you're going to be able to recoup that risk because at that time it wasn't a proven thing. No one was doing
Mm.
it, so there really was that need to do it or die.
Ouch. That's
Yeah,
the brutal realities of it.
yeah, it was basically do it or die because if you don't do it and you delay it any longer, after a while it just becomes a bunch of people meeting up once a week for training. And while that's great and all, it doesn't go anywhere for anyone. So you needed to put that eventually you had to put a stamp on things and go, okay, this here's the date, here's the venue, we're doing this.
Yes.
So that's I mean on one hand it's good because you know I'm a firm believer that people have to break their backs and pay their dues before doing anything in the wrestling business. So I think if that was our way of having to pay our dues, fine. We were gonna have to pay our dues one way or another. If this is what it took for us to pay our dues, game.
Through thick and thin. Yes, ain't gonna be easy. I already believed that one from the beginning. That was tough. Eventually, fast forward toward 2016. Let's say, to my surprise, we were no longer affiliated with PWR because we already know the backstory behind it, on which we had to skip because I think this is something for better or for worse. Yes. I guess it has something to do with, CBL and some stuff like that. But you two were still good friends to this day, right? No matter what
Yeah,
circumstances may have been.
yeah. I mean, the way the way I see it for me is because during those early formative periods
Mhm.
we were really close.
Yes.
We were very close. He used to sleep over in my house and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that I know him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and also going back at the time, um, we were all young. We didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
None of us knew any better.
You were a little bit
And
older than Yusuf. Excuse me, CBL. And
that's
then
fine.
William was a little bit older than you.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. William's like a couple of years older than me, and I think I'm like 5 or 6 years older than Yusuf, somewhere around there. I mean, when all this was starting, the dude was like 19, 20 years old,
Oh
and
yes, at the time. At the
and
time. He's still a college
at the time,
student.
yeah, he was a college student. So
Mm.
I mean, this goes for anyone who has to be put into a leadership position
Oh, that's the
when
tough one.
at a young age. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if if it's him or if it's any other wrestler. You
Yes.
know, if you like, you put a lot of responsibility on someone at a young age to get a certain
That's
job.
more than just a tough job. Trust me.
Yeah, and
President, huh?
y-
I don't know
yeah,
how
and
he
it's
end up there. We don't know the backstory about who actually voted for this guy. I mean, if you were to vote someone, he should be a little bit older and more than just matured. He should be knowing the whole lot of shit. But when we came down to that at the time, I can assure of it that he knows nothing at all. If
not
such
no one
things
did.
like,
No one did.
mm,
No one did. Honest
mm,
to God, no one at the time knew anything. I wasn't there when they made that call.
mm-hmm,
I found out about it the next morning. So, but I can say that at the time I could understand why other people decided on that. I'm not
mm,
gonna say who made that decision,
I understand that.
um, but I can also understand why at the time people decided on him, because
Mm.
in those early meetings, I mean, you've seen how I dress. I don't really dress fancy unless I
Ah,
have
yes,
to.
that was the old you. That was the old you.
Yeah, no, even up to now, like it's like I have to dress up.
Oh, yes,
Um,
I understand that.
that's me. That's why I'm so happy I'm not a commissioner anymore, because like finally, um, but at the time, when we had those early meetings, a lot of us would show up in our wrestling t-shirts and we would just like talk about booking and possibility and stuff like
Mm.
that. And at the time, CBL, he would show up to those meetings, very presentable. He tried to come up and he tried to really make an effort to come up with and formulate plans. Like when we would
Mhm.
all get into the discussions, like
Mhm.
very. So like if there were maybe three of us who were more interested in the idea of establishing it as a feasible business, everyone else, were just concerned. Oh, I want to do. Oh, what would Pinoy Strong Style look like? That used to be a discussion people would have. What would Pinoy
Oh,
Strong
yes,
Style
yes,
look
yes.
like? Those
Mm.
were discussions. You'd have people who were mostly there to fan out at the possibility, than really look at what the needs were. Out of all the people there were probably around five of us
Mhm.
who really looked deeply at, okay, what do we need from a business acquisition standpoint? What do we need in terms of funding? What do we need in terms of legal whatnot? He was one of those people who was there for that discussion. So that's, and because the fact that he dressed up well, he presented himself well to people, that's one of the reasons why he was elected there. But it's also because at the time, he was probably the most presentable person in that bunch.
I see.
In-
The
in-
original
in-
group.
in- in- yeah, in the original group. And the people who could do something about it, they had other careers, they had families,
Oh,
they had
yes,
other
yes.
more pressing things, because they were, by that time, they were either in like their late 20s or they were in their early 30s. And when you're at that age, you really don't have a lot of time to spend it thinking about all these like little
Ah, yes. Because family comes first. That's one of them.
yeah. So the people who probably could have been a better fit for that position, they just either had families already, or they had demanding jobs, or they had both.
Because at the
So-
time, pro wrestling wasn't existed at the time, and it wasn't legitimate yet. I can't say about that. At the time.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all, because it really was just a bunch of fucking marks who decided, hey, who wants to take this wrestling thing seriously? Raise your hands. That's-
Yun. Yes,
That's
the one.
really what it was. And and that's how the first meeting came about, because I think it was, I don't know if it was, I forget if it was Borman or if it was Owell who
Owen
made,
Babasa. Yes, him.
yeah, who made a status in that old group saying, I think it's now the street theme or something. It was basically like, okay, we're gonna meet up and talk about this wrestling thing.
All
Who
right.
here wants to give it a go? Done. And then a bunch of us met in Trinoma.
Ah,
for
yes,
that first
Trinoma.
meeting. So the people I remember who were present in that first meeting included me, CBL, Rex Lowen was there.
Yes, one of the OGs, right?
Cantatera was there. Mike Vargas was there. He's
Mike
doing ring
Vargas.
announcing stuff.
Yes.
He's doing ring
I
announcing
heard
stuff for
about that guy's
PWR.
name.
Yeah, he was there. Ol was there. Borman was there.
Morgan?
Yeah. Huh?
Who's this guy?
Borman.
Morman. Yeah, Borman. Nelson.
Bormy.
Yeah.
Nelson Jr. Nelson Jr. Nelson Jr. is another one that people tend to forget about.
Oh, okay.
Because he was one of the people who really tried to rally up all the fans along with Canto Terror. And not only that, but he was the kind of person who would like approach different workers from around the world and try to connect us with different workers.
Nice.
So in the story of Philippine pro wrestling, he is someone whose name people tend to forget about a lot, and that's not fair.
Wow. But I think he did contribute good naman. I see no bad in it. Well, I mean, why forget something that is very original and part of it?
I think, how do I answer this? In a very diplomatic approach. So I think at that time, because this is around, we're looking at 2000, tail end of 2014, going into 2015.
Oh.
Like, it comes with the business. It comes with like eventually having a bit of an ego. It comes with the business, and I have my moments where I have to deal with my own ego. So I'm not, saying, oh, these guys just blew up a big ego. No, everyone has a fucking ego.
Yes,
And
that's true. That's true. It did
yeah,
exist.
and I have a fucking ego, and I have to keep that fucking ego at check a lot. So
by not letting your emotions get the best of you, if that's for
exactly.
one.
So you're at the tail end of 2014, which is a very shaky year for the foundations of Philippine wrestling.
Yes.
by the time that year ended, PWR was on its way to doing 3 shows, and MWF was on the verge of getting together.
Yes, yes.
So, and there was, when certain people either got kicked out
Okay.
or left.
Yes, I heard
know,
that. Yeah. We know that. We know
there,
that.
there was this sort of attitude where you don't talk about people who aren't there anymore. You sort of Chris Benoit them.
Oh, shit.
So I think because by that point, a lot of the people who were on the front lines at the beginning of the year had been relocated to the very back. So there's that. You combine it with the fact that there are people who are here who were here but they're not here anymore. We don't really want to have that dragging us down while we're trying to launch this thing. So when you sort of have like those factors there, and you combine it with the ego that comes with being someone who works in a business. And because when you're in the ring, and unless you know what you're doing, regardless if it's a match or if it's just a promo, you wield a lot of command, and that moment when you're in the ring, it really sinks in. It feels real. That sometimes when you're out of that moment, it can be hard to kind of reassociate with yourself, with the person that you were before you got inside the ring. So when you sort of have that that head rush, and you combine it with all the fucking baggage of the shit that had happened earlier that year, your idea is you just want to keep moving forward. You don't really want to think about what happened before. You don't really want to think about the things that led you there, because you're already there now and you just want to keep moving. So I think that I don't think, I know for a fact that attitude at the time rubbed a lot of people off the wrong way.
I see.
Especially the people who were there at the very beginning and who felt like their contributions weren't acknowledged.
Very validated.
People who think that, I know people whose hearts were broken at that period.
Oh yeah, I know
a lot of people whose hearts were broken at that period.
Some of them were from MWF mostly, or others as well. Continue.
Some got into MWF, some didn't go into MWF.
I see.
One person from that time even told me, getting your heart broken by someone you love is one thing, but getting your heart broken by wrestling is another thing altogether. And there's a lot of truth to that, because a lot of us, myself included, we all experience a lot of heartbreak during that first year.
I see. I understand.
Yeah, and so when you combine a lot of the things that happened there, and if you're in a position where you start off the year super excited because you're at the very foundation of this great big thing that you've been waiting for so long to have, and then before you know it, it's the end of the year and it's either taken away from you or no one thanks you.
Oh, that's crap. Or a bit of an ungrateful, if you ask me.
Yeah, no one thanks you for what you did for them at that time. Okay. You will get so upset and so angry with everything that if you aren't a vengeful person, you're probably just going to walk away from it for good. And a lot of those people at the time, they walked away from it for good.
Oh shit.
Because because of what happened there. I mean,
Mhm.
honest to God, like I don't hold any ill will towards anyone. For the most part, I wish everyone nothing but the best because we all need it, and we all sort of need each other to survive.
Mhm.
So for me, I cannot regret what happened at all
I see.
because I ended up getting a chance to work with the people I wanted to work with the most. I ended up getting a chance to co-book things that I wanted to do from the very beginning. Things I
Mm.
probably wouldn't have been able to do had I been still in PWR.
I see.
So
That's one of the creative differences, if possible.
yeah, that major creative difference was there.
I
Because
see.
also also another problem at the time.
Mm.
And I'm glad
Halata.
it's something that they have an identity, and I'm so happy they found their identity. At the time, there were so many conflicting ideas over what that identity was going to be and what it would entail.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
So and again, the things I ended up either booking or co-booking or producing are things I don't think I would have been able to do in PWR.
Okay.
And that's fine.
Mm.
I love everyone in MWF.
Mm, I
So
get that.
I'm one of the few people from that time who survived it, and I can say that I'm happy it all worked out for the best because it really did.
Yes, it worked.
Others not so much.
Oh, okay. Hey, cut the chat because part was about to be over, and then we're gonna do part 2 later on, kids. So stick around. We'll be right back after these useless reminders. Unless if we have advertisement in here.
I hope you get advertisement. You should do your own ads.
That was the idea that I was told of for quite some time. Alright, we'll be right back, okay? We'll be right back, kids. Medyo nalulok yung aking words.